Brandy Norwood was once on top of the world, but then everything came crashing down when she got involved in a terrible car accident. And then she pretty much disappeared from the public eye, and you'll never believe what happened. Brandy was always a star in the making, and there's no doubt about that. At the age of 15, she released her self-titled album, which ended up going quadruple platinum, which was definitely super impressive. Brandy's undeniable talent was also practically a source of inspiration for so many major stars we know today, like Rihanna and Solange Knowles, who basically call Brandy the goddess of R&B. At one point in time, I'm pretty sure we could all agree that Brandy was on top of the world, but then she seemed to have disappeared from the public eye all of a sudden. So where exactly did it all go wrong? For most people, Brandy's downfall started after a fatal car accident. From the 90s into the early 20s, Brandy's music career pretty much skyrocketed, and so did her acting career. I think I speak for a lot of us when I say that Brandy was kind of living the dream life until something absolutely terrible happened to her. In 2006, Brandy was involved in a horrific car accident that would change the direction of her life forever. Just before New Year's in 2006, Brandy was behind the wheel of her car. She was driving to LA, and then something tragic happened. For some unknown reason, Brandy had rear-ended a 2005 Toyota Corolla as she was moving at about 65 miles per hour. It all happened so fast, and two cars got involved in the accident. Brandy was lucky enough to walk away from the accident without any injuries, but the other parties involved sadly weren't as lucky. The driver of the Toyota was a 38-year-old mother of two called Awadaf Abaduach, who unfortunately lost her life the very next day because of the injuries she had sustained during the accident. The driver of the second car, called Mallory Ham, thankfully survived the accident, but she suffered from several facial injuries, including a broken nose. In the blink of an eye, Brandy's life had changed from a fairy tale to living a nightmare. After this all went down, prosecutors investigated the incident to see if Brandy should be held responsible for it. Brandy was lucky enough to avoid being charged with this. Awadaf's family filed a $50 million wrongful passing lawsuit against Brandy, and Mallory actually sued her for negligence and motor vehicle damage. Brandy was able to settle both lawsuits out of court, but the impact of what had happened that very night never left her. At the time of her accident, Brandy was serving as a judge in America's Got Talent, and because of the legal troubles that she faced at the time, she had to abandon the role. As if that wasn't bad enough, after the accident, Brandy suffered from depression and supposedly even had thoughts about taking her own life. To this day, she rarely speaks about what happened on that day, and the reason why is out of respect. Before the accident happened, Brandy was working on a new album, but she had to put that off for a while after what went down. Eventually, she returned to music about 2 years later, but she didn't receive the warm welcome she might have expected. Unfortunately, her 2008 album Human completely flopped. Because of this, she left her record label Epic Records and signed with Chameleon/RCA, where she started working on her follow-up album 211. Many people were really excited about the new album. They even described it as a comeback album. Everyone expected so much more from Brandy than what we got in 2008, and this new album got everyone's hopes up. Surprisingly, Brandy wasn't even mad about this at all. If anything, she completely agreed that 211 was her comeback album. She herself was calling it a comeback because she knew she'd been gone for a while and she didn't know how to find her way back and get it together until that album. Everyone was really excited for 211 to come out, and then it was finally released and it received lots of attention. Billboards even called it Brandy's most focused album since Never Say Never. But there were still many people that didn't exactly seem all that excited about it. Even though Brandy's new album peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200, it performed very poorly in sales, selling even fewer copies than her 2008 album in its first 2 weeks. Because of this, she sued Chameleon Records. Even though Brandy wasn't happy with the sales of 211, she still remained very proud of it, unlike her 2008 album. Even though she put up a strong front in public, deep down, Brandy supposedly fell into an even deeper depression. In 2016, she spoke to Dr. Oz about it and revealed that she was in a very dark place in her life. One of the reasons for this was her failed engagement with Ryan Press, who she had thought was the one. Even though Brandy's reps claimed that her split from Ryan was amicable, rumor has it that it actually wasn't. There were some rumors going around at the time that Ryan had cheated on Brandy, but neither of them actually came out to confirm or deny it, so no one really knows what actually went down to this day. It may have taken Brandy a while, but she ultimately realized that she had to do something to dig herself out of the dark place she was in. For her, being more active was the best way to do this. She started going to the gym, meditating, and writing down her thoughts. She slowly started turning her life around. Because of her declining music career, Brandy had to look for other means to pay her bills, and that's allegedly how she got into Broadway. Brandy's role as Roxy Hart in Broadway's Chicago, the musical, came around at just the right time for her, a time when she desperately needed a big break to make her start feeling positive again. Brandy had started turning her life around for the better, but then another tragedy struck. In 2017, she made headlines when she suffered a health scare while she was on a plane. Brandy was set to fly from LA to New York, and before the plane could even leave the runway, she allegedly lost consciousness. The next few seconds after this were very fragile, as the medics on the plane tried their best to help Brandy. Thankfully, a doctor stepped in to help before Brandy was finally taken to the hospital. After Brandy was rushed to the hospital, the doctors revealed that the reason why she had fainted was because of exhaustion. Because she was working so hard to get herself back to her old glory days, she lost sight of her health, but thankfully it didn't lead to anything too serious. Since this happened, Brandy has been taking life one day at a time, and she seems to be doing just fine nowadays. In 2020, she released her 7th studio album called B7. She actually released it as an independent artist, and it performed much better than her last 2 albums. Brandy has slowly been making a comeback, and who knows, she just might end up reliving her glory days. But what do you guys think? Did you know about all of this? What do you think about Brandy? Let me know in the comments.